Welcome to another week, another show of Hawkeyed with me, Dave O'Hara. We are back. Deservedly so. The last month, you got to see repeat interviews of Caitlin Clark, Coach Lisa Bluter, Monica Sonano after that fantastic championship run that the Iowa Hawkeye women made. Fell, so short, but came up just a little bit short. But what a run, what a season. We're going to talk about that later on in the program. Have not talked to you since that wonderful run for the Iowa Hawkeye women. There's a lot of spring football to talk about, the NFL draft, men's basketball, transfer portal, so much going on. I'm going to not continue with this intro and just go straight to the show. Our buddy Kenny Smith, Kennington Lloyd Smith III, as Paul Feinbaum from the SEC Network and ESPN said, the greatest name in the industry. Kenny, you've got some news. Kenny is now the beat writer for the Athletic college football for Alabama, is no longer covering the Iowa Hawkeyes. And so Kenny, and his parents now in Atlanta, but going to be in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, covering Alabama football. So first of all, Kenny, as always, with this whirlwind you got going on today, and you just did an interview on the SEC Network. This is Tuesday afternoon, May 2nd, but you just did an interview with Paul Feinbaum, and now you were able to squeeze us in. What a whirlwind this has been for you. Congratulations on almost 2 years here of great coverage for the Iowa Hawkeyes. You started here in June of 2021, and now you're at Alabama. But my friend, major league congratulations to you, and thanks so much for joining us. And how's everything going with you?
Yeah, thank you for having me on. And I'm not squeezing you, and actually squeeze Feinbaum in.
Oh, thank you.
We have this thing scheduled
That's right.
For several days now, and that obligation came up today. So, I'm glad I was able to get that in. I appreciate you being flexible.
No problem.
But it's just been, like you said, a whirlwind. It's been indescribable, honestly. It's surreal. It really hasn't even hit me yet, honestly. It was just an opportunity that kind of came in the 11th hour, so to say, and it's something that I wasn't expecting at all. And just an opportunity that was too good to pass up. Obviously, it goes without saying who Alabama is in the college football spectrum, and The Athletic is an extremely respected publication as well. So the opportunity to move back south, to move back to my SEC footprint and be connected to, premier programming in all of sports, not even on the college level, in all of sports was just a really great opportunity. So bittersweet, obviously, I'm leaving some great people in Iowa, and it was some tough conversations that I had to have, with people that I worked with friends that I made out there, just letting them know that I was leaving. But I'm really excited for the opportunity that's ahead of me, and I'm just ready to kind of get started.
But I want folks to know, again, you loved this 2 years, and take a few moments, as you and I talked last week on the phone about setting up this interview, and I said, we got to give you your swan song or your goodbye to Iowa, but talk about some of the highlights besides the people, and you worked with one of the preeminent reporters for Iowa Hawkeye Athletics, Chad Leistico, with the Des Moines Register and Hawk Central, but talk about some of your favorite takeaways. Let's talk about the moments for basketball, men's and women's, for football. Anything else that comes to your mind about Iowa? Some great takeaways in your almost 2 years here, Kenny, please.
Yeah, no, it was an amazing 2 years, and I feel like in a lot of ways I saw the best of Iowa athletics in these 2 years. And that's not to say that more great things are not ahead for Iowa, but if you just look at what's happened in the last 2 years, when you take a step back and consider it, it's been such a great time for so many sports. First year on the beat, my first game that I ever covered with Iowa was Iowa State top 10 matchup college game day. At that point, that was considered to be one of, if not the biggest side game in history. And Iowa parlayed that into a number 2 ranking in the country in football, and went on to have a 10-win season, win the Big Ten West for the first time in several years. And in the middle of that, basketball season is going on, and Iowa goes on and wins the Big Ten. Keegan Murray, National Player of the Year campaign that he was on, playing great. Jordan Bohannon, record-breaking season with the three-pointers and the games played, and the championship for Iowa over Purdue. And at that point, that was just the beginning of who Caitlin Clark was beginning to be as a star player. And that kind of takes us into the second year, where I saw Caitlin Clark go from this, I don't want to say she was a regional star because she is a huge star, but for the casual viewer who did not watch college basketball or women's basketball, she really broke out into superstardom this year. So to be up close and personal for that, especially in the NCAA tournament in the first 2 rounds, was incredible. And Keegan and Chris Murray covering their story, telling their story, and Keegan had a great rookie year with the Kings, and Chris is going to be a first-round pick this year as well, so that was a huge part of it. Iowa wrestling. Wrestling is not big in the South compared to how it is in the Midwest and in the East Coast, and to be able to sit alongside of Cody Goodwin and feel the electricity that wrestling has inside of Carver, and learn about the sport and learn about the history of Iowa, and the history of Big Ten wrestling was amazing as well. So there were just so many great moments and so many great things that I saw in my 2 years here, and it was just something I really couldn't even have imagined. I think I've said before, when I was living in the South growing up, I didn't know anything about Iowa. I never watched any Iowa games. I mean, if they played Ohio State or Michigan or in a big game, then I would watch it. But otherwise, I wasn't watching them day to day, week to week. So I didn't know what I was expecting coming out here. And I just saw so many, great athletes and got a chance to connect with so many great coaches and great people as well. So great experience. If you would ask me, would I do it all over again? It would be a resounding yes. So I greatly enjoyed my time.
Well, we loved having you here. Great coverage. You've dealt with some personalities here. Caitlin Clark, very fun and easygoing. Coach Bluter, but more. Fran McCaffrey was still very good with the media. But Nick Saban, that's a whole nother going to be a caged animal to interview. I'm anxious for you to see how that goes as you chuckle with me. Yeah,
my last availability with Iowa, Phil Parker recommended that I bring him a Diet Coke. He's like, that might break the ice. And I had a funny moment with him as well, because him and Saban are tight. So I told Phil, I was like, hey, call your boy up. And he was like, he had a laugh. He was like, oh, you like that, wouldn't you? So I saw him again at open scrimmage, and we had a good talk. So I wouldn't be surprised if he shot Saban a text or a call like, hey, this kid is coming down there, but he's a professional. He knows his stuff. So I know Saban could be rough around the edges, but for me personally, I don't plan on doing anything but go to there and be myself.
I agree with you 100%. You do you, and you're going to be fine. You're going to be honing in on football primarily, and we're going to talk more about that. Let's run to our first break, Kenny. Just a lot of interesting things upcoming that Kenny and I will get to. He is Kennington Lloyd Smith III, Kenny Smith, formerly of the Des Moines Register and Hawk Central and USA Today, but now with the Athletic college football covering Alabama football. So back with more Hawkeye with me, Dave O'Hara, and Kenny Smith. Back in just a few moments.
To have a strong finish, you need an excellent start. It's true on the track and also in the field. That's why Mershman Seeds works tirelessly to deliver cutting-edge technology year after year. Introducing Starting Line, Mershman Seeds' latest advancement in seed treatment, now providing added protection from white mold and sudden death syndrome all season. Ask for Starting Line seed treatment from Mershman Seeds, your friend in the field.
Hi, I'm Joel from Tice Chevrolet. We've lived through some very interesting times the last few months. Ensuring everyone's safety is more important than ever. That is why we're participating in the Chevy Clean program. At your request, we will pick up your vehicle, service it, and return it after we've cleaned it using the current CDC guidelines. This is just another way to work towards exceeding your expectations. So give us a call and let us show you what it means to be part of the Tice Automotive family.
Welcome back to Hawkeye with me, Dave O'Hara, and Kenny Smith, Kennington Lloyd Smith III. Kenny, formerly of the Des Moines Register, covering the Iowa Hawkeyes, now with the Athletic college football, covering Alabama football. But as Kenny left town last week, Iowa City and the University of Iowa, back to his native southeast part of the country in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, about an hour and a half, 2 hours from his native Atlanta. So Kenny back in his home area covering SEC football, and we talked about that earlier in the first segment. But Kenny, you take a look at the 42 Hawkeyes or 43 Hawkeyes on the NFL rosters right now, or signed. 33 of them, the interesting thing about these guys is that they were, I think 33 of the 42, if my numbers are correct, were 3-star or less coming out of high school, or they were walk-ons. Kenny, that's unbelievable, the job that Kirk Ferentz and his staff do when they get these guys on campus. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, the talent development at Iowa is astounding, and I don't exactly know the correct metric of measuring what somebody's ranked out of high school and then projecting it out to what they should be in terms of an NFL draft pick. But Iowa has to be one of the best teams at maximizing talent of anybody in the country. These guys were not the Bryce Youngs out of high school, number one player in the country from modern day that had every offer. They weren't Keely Ringo great 5-star player who had everybody, jockeying for his services. The talent scouting in terms of identifying talent and then developing it, it's on another level. I think anytime it gets to be the draft, it's a special time for the fans who get a chance to see kids that they've seen grow up and go on and realize their dreams. But it definitely hits a little different when you have those stories of the Riley Mosses and the Laportas and the Van Nesses, guys who didn't have a whole lot of schools beating down their doors, and then come to a place like Iowa, win the Big Ten West and play at the highest stage and go on to represent Iowa in the NFL. And to your point, 42 guys in the league, that's in the top 10 nationally. There are programs who are recruiting at a higher clip, star-wise or ratings-wise. They don't have that many players in the league. So, for all the gripes about, the offense and everything else, and they are well deserved, of course, and we're going to get into that. It's always a great time to take a step back and appreciate what is happening at Iowa at the same time when you think about the talent development and kids having an opportunity to play the league.
Let's you and I get to this year's football team and transitioning from the draft into spring football, what you got to see before you left. Kenny, let's be blunt. There are changes, and they're going to be very obvious, I would think, starting pretty quickly.
Yeah, I think there's obviously changes in personnel. Iowa went through last year. It was not a great year offensively, obviously, and it very much took away an opportunity from the program to play for a Big Ten championship. And at the first opportunity that Kirk Ferentz had to upgrade positions on offense, he took it. I mean, Cade McNamara, Eric All at tight end, adding another piece, going and adding multiple players on the offensive line. And I think that they understood that they had to change something. And maybe that change was going into the transfer portal and being aggressive in it and trying to use that to replenish some talent. Because at the end of the day, Iowa is a developmental program. Like, they're to expect them to have a lot of true freshmen just come in and immediately contribute. It usually doesn't work like that at Iowa. Caleb Johnson had a great year, but that's usually not the case. So maybe that change for them was going into the transfer portal. But to your point, Brian, in his coordinator availability, said that there weren't going to be any changes on offense. And just looking at his entire presser, I kind of, in some ways, admire the fact that he was very much like, this is who we are, this is who we're going to be, and if we're going to crash and burn, we're going to do it our way. Now, do I necessarily feel like that's wise? Probably not. I have to respect it. And maybe with upgrades in personnel in certain positions, maybe it'll lead better results. But looking at the offense as a whole, I think that the skeleton is there to have a better offense. You have an upgrade at quarterback. You have two great tight ends. I mean, day one, day two guys, two of them at tight end. You have the upgrades on the offensive line. Dejon Parker was out for the entire spring, but within the program, they expect him to be a player. Rusty Thuck is going to come in June with a lot of experience. You expect him to be plug and play on the interior of that offensive line. And you have great running backs. You have Caleb Johnson, who's going to be great. Leshawn Williams is a veteran. He's a reliable number 2. Jazzy and Patterson might be able to provide some things as well. But for me, Iowa's offense is going to be make or break on the perimeter.
Well, and before we get to defense, I do want to mention special teams very quick, that you're going to have Torrey Taylor back. That's going to be great. You're going to have Drew Stevens has put on weight and says that's going to help his leg and his drive and extend his range to make him a longer field goal kicker. So that's going to be interesting. So you're pretty well set at those positions as far as punting and kicking goes. And of course, if Cooper DeJean, besides playing defense, can still do the special teams work he's been doing the last couple of years. Now let's go to Cooper DeJean and the rest of that defense. How's that lay out for you, Kenny?
I think that you look at the beginning of where the defense starts on the defensive line, and you feel great about it. You will talk about talent development. What Kelvin Bell and Jay Neiman have done on the defensive line is outstanding in terms of players that they put into the league, but continuing to develop it and replenish that talent. It's going to be an extremely deep group. And it seems like we've said the last few years, Iowa's defensive line is so deep. But this year it really is. There's going to be guys who are going to be almost too good to keep off the field, but you might have to keep them off the field because they're going to have so many great veterans. Feel great about the defensive line. I think you feel good about the secondary in terms of the starters that you have. Like, if you just look at Iowa's frontline starters, if Jamari Harris, Cooper DeJean, Quinn Schulte, Xavier Wamp, and Sebastian Castro stay healthy for an entire season, I mean, keep your head on a swivel. That's going to be a secondary that's going to be one of the best in the Big Ten, if not the country. I think the big question mark is that linebacker core. And that's not to discount who Seth Wallace is as a coach and as a talent developer, but I think in some ways, if you're an Iowa fan, you might have gotten comfortable with the fact that you're just used to seeing All-American play at linebacker. If it's not Josie Jewell, it's then Jack Campbell and Seth Benson. And when Justin Jacobs was out, he was looking like a player who is going to be those next guys in the center of that defense. We think Jay Higgins is going to be one of those central guys, and from what we understand, he stepped up as a leader. He played great last year in Justin's place. But who else is in that linebacker room that's going to emerge? We've heard the names Carson Shire, and we've heard Jaden Harrell. We've heard these names. We haven't seen them in the fire, so to say. We haven't seen them in the wars. You just don't know. That's really where the question mark lies for me is the linebacker play going to step back? Even if it steps back a little bit, how much of a difference is that going to make to the defense? Because they've just had game records in the middle of that defense for several years, and it doesn't seem like there's that level of player there, at least right now. I know they're bringing in Nick Jackson in the summer, and I'm sure Jay Higgins is going to continue to develop as well, but that is definitely a question mark on defense right now.
Well, the rest remains to be seen. So, Kenny, let's run to our last break, and when we come back, we've got to talk men's basketball, women's basketball, that great run that Bluter's bunch was on to the national championship game. We've got so much more to get to. He is Kennington Lloyd Smith III. Kenny Smith, I am Dave O'Hara with Hawkeyed. One more segment with Kenny and me. We'll be back with more Hawkeyed in just a few moments.
Hi, I'm Joel from Tice Automotive Family. I want to let you know our family's getting big, really big. We're now offering Chevrolet's medium-duty truck lineup. Whether it's a 4500 with the custom flatbed or a 6500 with the dump body, Chevrolet has a truck we can upfit to meet your needs. So stop in and let us show you what it means to be part of the larger Tice Automotive family.
Who do you trust to produce the best yield? A seat company that's chasing technology, or a seat company that's writing a book on it? Merschman Seeds is a leader in technology. We're independent and family owned. Our sister company, MS Technologies, provides access to world-class traits and genetics. And our starting line seed treatment is second to none. Who can you trust with your yields? Merschman Seeds, your friend in the field.
Welcome back to Hawkeye with me, Dave O'Hara. You can see our buddy Kenny Smith joining us as he has throughout the program for this third and final segment. Kenny, formerly of the Des Moines Register, covered the Iowa Hawkeyes, also for Hawk Central, USA Today, and now covering Alabama football for the Athletic College Football. So, Kenny, we've talked all program long about your transition from Iowa to Alabama and also Hawkeye football in the NFL draft and Hawkeye football offense and defense. Now it's time to get to basketball. Women's basketball, the national runner-up this past year, Bluter's bunch, as well as the men's basketball program with transfer portal news here. But let's talk about this past season leading into next year. Kenny, please.
Yeah, I mean, it was an incredible run. And when you think about what you just said about last season entering this season, it's been so interesting to see how quickly the expectations have changed for the program. It felt very much at the beginning of the season, the feeling was if Iowa can get to a Final Four while Caitlin Clark is in school, that would be considered a success. They did do that and it was great, but now it's kind of like, as a fan, once you've seen your team get to that point once, you want to see them get there again. You want to see them continuously get to that point. And that's not to say that Iowa women's expectations should be going to the Final Four every single year, but I think it just reaffirms that Iowa women could have a prominent national program. I think the expectations and the feeling around the Iowa women have changed. I think that Lisa Bluter was spot on in her championship celebration speech where she said that this team contributed to a shift in terms of how people perceive women's basketball. And I think that for the fans, just kind of seeing how they kind of went from, oh, if Iowa can find a way to catch good breaks, they can make a Final Four and that'll be successful. Now it's like, okay, what can Iowa do to reload and be a prominent team at the forefront of the discussion? And I think that has to be exciting for everybody involved.
That's great stuff, Kenny. So let's you and I now talk about men's basketball. Fran McCaffrey's guys. And they get Cricky, the leading scorer from the Missouri Valley last year. So when you take a look at the guys coming in, and you and I talked about this like a few weeks ago, with Price Sanford joining his brother Peyton Sanford. You'll have Owen Freeman and Brock Harding in as freshmen. You've got Dembele coming in. This should be with Cricky transferring in and with Chris Murray departure to the NBA now, and Philip Rabracha out of eligibility. Now, Kenny, you can take a look at how this team may formulate next year. Patrick McCaffrey back. Connor McCaffrey, out of eligibility. This could be an interesting starting five, and you mentioned something to me off the air I want to bring on the air. You can't necessarily put your 5 best scorers out there at one time because who are you going to bring in off the bench? But that could be a pretty formidable offensive unit with Perkins, Peyton Sanford, and Patrick McCaffrey, and you've got DeSante Bowen at the point. This could be a very formidable, and Josh Dix coming back. I just mentioned 8 or 9 guys right there. Who do you start? And Cricky obviously is going to probably start.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like you said, there's going to be some tough decision and potentially some musical chairs when you think about what Fran is going to do with his starting lineup. I think there are so many questions in terms of development on the roster. If DeSante can develop into a Power 5 starting point guard, you put him at the 1, you put Tony at the 2. What do you do with Patrick McCaffrey? Is he ready to play the 4? Because you probably want Peyton Sanford at that 3 spot. The last few power forwards for Iowa, Chris Murray, Keegan Murray, and Joe Wieskamp, they've been great defenders. They've been willing rebounders. Keegan and Chris have led the team in rebounds their last 2 years. Is Patrick going to be, able to play that 4 spot, be able to play good defense, and be able to rebound at a high level? Maybe he will be, but that just hasn't been his role yet. He's been primarily a small forward in the Cricky at the 5. If DeSante Bowen isn't ready for that role, Tony Perkins is, more than capable of handling the ball. Maybe you put him at the 1, you put Sanford at the 2. Patrick McCaffrey can play his natural 3, but then who's going to play the 4 and the 5? Cricky is going to have one of those spots, but then what's going to happen at that other spot? Is it going to be Owen Freeman? Is it going to be Laji Dembele? Are they going to play small with 3 guards? Maybe Josh Dix enters the equation. You play 3 guards, 2 forwards. There's a lot of different ways that this thing can go. So it's going to be one of the most crucial off seasons, I think, in Fran's tenure. And maybe I'm talking out of turn because I've only seen a handful of off seasons of Fran's tenure, but I just look at how long he's been at Iowa, where the program is at, what the fans are starting to expect out of the program. Where's the talent development going to come from on this roster? Who's going to be the ones that really step up on this roster? It kind of goes back to the linebacker conversation that we had earlier. Iowa's had All-American play in basketball for several years. It was Luka Garza, then it was then it was Keegan Murray, and then it was Chris Murray. Jared Uthoff as well. They've had an All-American run, but this team, it doesn't look like there's that pencil this guy as a consistent All-American guy. And if Iowa doesn't have that, what is that going to look like? Maybe that person can develop, but it's gonna be remain to be seen until this fall. So crucial offseason for Fran and his staff to develop those guys and try to figure out what's the best way to play next year.
Well, Kenny, we have covered so much today. Good luck on your new endeavor at Alabama, covering Alabama football for The Athletic. Thank you for your almost 2 years here of great coverage for the Iowa Hawkeyes, for the Des Moines Register, USA Today, and Hawk Central. My goodness, I can't believe it's been almost 2 years, but we look forward to catching up with you during the football season, talking some Alabama football, how your experience is going with Nick Saban, but also Caden Proctor, as we mentioned, a former Hawkeye recruit, the Iowa native, now an offensive lineman with the Crimson Tide. It's going to be great to catch up with you. Thank you for all your past appearances, but today especially with just getting moved, doing the Paul Feinbaum, the national show on the SEC network, and then joining us. Can't even begin to thank you enough with all the things you're juggling in the air right now with moving from Iowa to Tuscaloosa near your home of Atlanta. Kenny, thanks so much and continued good luck to you, my friend.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me on, and I want to extend some thank you to you as well, and Michael also, who's behind the camera, does a great job for you as well. I appreciate y'all always finding time for me to be on the show, being flexible with my schedule, giving me this opportunity to come and talk with you even after I took this new role. So just appreciate all the great times we've had, great conversations on the air, off the air, and just looking forward to continuing to have a great relationship as time goes on.
Absolutely.
Like I said, I'm not going to stray too far. I am geographically, obviously, but I'm going to continue to be a supporter and, continue to kind of have my fingerprints in Iowa athletics as much as I can. So now I want to say thank you for everything as well. And, the best is yet to come for sure.
Well, you're very welcome, and I can only echo everything you just said. And we even have a Cane's here now for you in Iowa City, as you got to experience the last year as one of your favorite restaurants. So, but to your exact point again, for Kenny Smith, Kennington Lloyd Smith III, my production partner Michael Merrick, I'm Dave O'Hara with Hawkeye. That's all from us. Thanks to all of you. And as always, thanks for staying tuned at the end of the program for these rolling credits to give our advertisers and sponsors the attention and credit they so richly deserve. And as always, to our aforementioned guests and to you, the viewers. That's all from us at Hawkeye. Thanks to all of you.